All right, guys, welcome back to the Fourth and Football Podcast. I'm Jacob Rivas.
I'm Wyatt Staggs.
Here we are again, week two. Week one is awesome in the NFL.
Glad football's back.
Glad football is back. Um, we will not overreact to week one. You know, week one's crazy. Anything happens in week one every single year. As we see, the Patriots took down the Bengals.
Yeah.
Oh, way. That was crazy to see. But what we will do is dive right in. And first thing we like to do is just address where we were wrong the week before. We don't like to act like we're perfect or anything like that. We're going to dive right into the games we were completely wrong about. Wyatt, you want to start it off?
Yeah, so I'm going to go over basically, I think my 3 games I was wrong about the most. The Jets, they really disappointed me overall. Their offense didn't look like an NFL offense. Aaron Rodgers does not look like the Aaron Rodgers we all know. It was overall just looked like bad football on the offense. And the defensive side, they're supposed to be a defensive heavy team, and they got manhandled all night in the run game.
They did get, I feel like the 49ers offensive line overpowered him for sure. I wouldn't go as far as saying he didn't look like the Aaron Rodgers we know. I feel like there's going to be some rust for, taking a year and a half off of football. He looked pretty good overall. You can tell he started leaning on Lazard because of familiarity
Yeah.
of it when things got rough. But the O-line didn't hold up very well. Tyron Smith's old. He's aging. He's not who he used to be like he was in the Cowboys. And I think that 49ers defense is just stout.
The thing that got me with their offense is A-Rod had only targeted 4 receivers all night.
Yeah.
He targeted Wilson, Hall, Lazard, and one to Conklin all night. That's all he was going to.
That kind of leans back towards his last year in Green Bay where he leaned on the guys he had already built a relationship with in the previous years rather than the young guys. Is that a default for him? Is that going to be a teller for the rest of the season? Do you believe so?
I really hope not. And if you're a fantasy owner out there for Mike Williams, you might want to drop him because it was not looking good for him out there.
I did pick up Alan Lazard just because you could tell he was going to who's comfortable. He's comfortable with who he trusts the most relationship he had with.
Then my next wrong, I'm going to go with the Falcons. The Falcons, Kirk Cousins looked awful. Like just plain out awful out there.
Yeah.
He looked bad. The defense, I mean, they held up pretty well. The Steelers won off of 6 field goals.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the defense, of course, TJ Watt. But I expect an explosive offense from them. And I was disappointed as well. Like I said, it could be the week one, how it goes in week one. But they didn't look good. Kirk looked flustered.
Yep. And then my last one I'm going to go with is I came out and I said the Panthers and the Saints was going to be a low-scoring game and the Panthers were going to win. I was way off on that one. I was right about the Panthers low scoring.
Yeah.
But the Saints came out and put 40 up on them and just obliterated those boys. Derek Carr looked back to Raiders Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Very efficient, putting up yards. Looked really good.
What about the you mentioned it earlier this week, the 3 on you that he did
Yeah,
too.
J.C. Horn.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, he put up 3 on that boy, pointed at him, said 3 on you. That's got to be
that
pretty
might be one of the
embarrassing.
top moments so
Yeah.
far in the year. So I was wrong a few times myself. Cowboys, Browns. Let's start it off right there. I felt like Cowboys couldn't go into Cleveland. I expected the Cleveland from last year. The defense, they did not look very good. They looked flustered as well. To be fair, their left and right tackles were not in the game. They had the backups in, and they just could not handle Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. So it didn't look good. Deshaun Watson is a whole other story.
Could be out of the league.
Could be out of the league. Another suspension pending.
Time for Jameis.
Is it time for Jameis? I
time for
saw they were
Jameis.
looking at Ryan Tannehill. That could be a possibility. But I'll give the Cowboys their due. I mean, Mike McCarthy was calling a really good game, especially in the first half. Mike Zimmer has them looking like they might be a top defense. It is still early. I said they might regress under him. It's not looking like that at all. So I ate my words on that pick for sure.
I would say the Cowboys is my biggest right. I guess we'll skip over to it
Yeah.
because I was the only one that picked them last week, and I said I think that offense is going to come out clicking. All the guys got signed. Dak now signed too.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Biggest contract in football.
I like to sleep in on
history.
Sundays. I got a ritual, sleep in late, one day off. So I sleep in late. I woke up right to that and I was like, what? 60 million?
It was a crazy weekend to wake up to for football. You had Tyreek Hill's
Yeah.
problems. You had the Dak contract. It was a crazy weekend for
It was.
football.
That footage got released and it ain't looking good. It's pretty ugly.
Not looking good for those police.
My second wrong. Might have to look back on that one. Who did I have? The Bengals Patriots. But I feel
Yeah.
like everybody got that wrong.
Everybody, if you knew football, you were taking the Bengals. There's no way anyone honestly thought the Pats were
No.
coming out of that game with the
But
win.
Gerard Mayo had him looking good.
He did.
I will say that. He had him
Defense
looking really
looked
good.
good.
Defense looked really good.
Stevenson, they ran the ball.
They ran the ball extremely well. He rushed
Smash
for a
mouth
buck
football.
25. Yes. The time of possession was a big difference. Joe Burrow looked efficient. We'll say that. Like he
Yeah.
looked efficient, but there was no big plays. There was no pushing down the field. There was no dangerous stuff happening on that offense.
It
There was
looks to me there might be trouble in Cincinnati.
it's looking like it with Jamar, the way he's. I mean, is it reminiscent of Stephon?
It
in the
does.
Bills? It does very much so.
Reminds me of Stephon, and it reminds me towards AB towards the
Yeah.
end with the Steelers.
That's
Yep.
better. That's a better take. I like that a lot. My third wrong, I would say, was pretty bad. Who did I have? The Commanders Bucks. I picked the
Bucks.
Commanders. Yeah. Commanders Bucks. I did not expect I mean, I like Baker. I like the comeback story. I like rooting for him now. But I didn't expect him to do that to a Dan Quinn defense, to be honest. He might have had performance of the week when it comes to quarterback.
Another one of my games I'm going to call one of my biggest rights of the week with
Okay.
the Bucks. I said Baker's going to come out and show everyone that he's a top 10 quarterback this year.
Jesus. I don't
Top
know
10
about top
quarterback.
10, buddy. But he's looking good. He has some weapons. He's playing with attitude. He looks like Oklahoma Baker.
286, 4 tutties.
Yeah, he looks like Oklahoma Baker. And it's good to see, though. It's good for football. I will say that.
He's got that swag at QB I love
Yeah.
to see.
So we're gonna do a weekly recap. We'll pick one game each and kind of dive into it. What was your favorite game of the week, Wyatt?
My favorite game of the week, I'm going to have to go back to week 1 with Chiefs Ravens. Loved the game. You cut the tension with a knife towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
You know, likely if he wore a size 12 instead of a 13, it looks like the Ravens get a chance to win it at the end of that game.
Yeah.
But Lamar, the same old Lamar as we all know, can't get it done in the clutch and can't beat Mahomes.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the stat sheet, it was an amazing game on his part. If you watch the game, he missed throws he shouldn't have missed, especially the last one of Zay Flowers. Yeah, you can't do that.
He said in an interview he was hitting Bateman because he didn't know if Flowers was going to keep going or if he was going to sit. But if you go look, it really made me think, why are you hitting Bateman?
Yeah.
Bateman had a guy blanketed over the top of him.
He did. Flowers was uncovered. It was the game tire, possibly going to the game winner. Look, man, I mean, I like Lamar a lot, but it just seems like Mahomes has his number.
Yep.
And I don't know if he'll ever be able to beat the guy.
I will say, I like how they played Rashee Rice. They played him in the slot most of the night.
Yeah.
Had 7 catches and 108 yards.
Yeah, but that's Andy Reid, man. He's a genius. He play called and schemed to where Roquan Smith is covering Rashee Rice. As great as a linebacker as that guy
You
is,
can't recover Rashee Rice.
he cannot cover a wide receiver one. It's just
And the player I really want to touch about on this game, not Mahomes or Kelsey, Xavier Worthy.
Xavier
What
Worthy.
a way to play in your first
Yeah,
NFL game.
that
Had
was-
a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and looked like the fastest player in the NFL.
He did, and sometimes you question if the speed transitions to on the field. We know it did in Texas, but in NFL, people are faster. The game is faster. They play faster, but there was no question the speed's real.
It makes me excited to see that Chiefs receiving core with Brown back in there too.
Yes. Brown's going to be coming back this next week, I believe.
I believe, if not this week, week 3 for
week
sure.
3. Yeah, it's going to be dangerous. I don't want to say it. I hate to say it, but they look better than they did last year.
Yes, by far. in my
I was very
opinion.
disappointed by the way they utilized Derrick Henry, the Ravens, that is.
Yes.
The underutilization. We all know you have to get him 15, 20 carries before he gets going and really starts punishing a defense.
And then Mark Andrews, inexistent.
Yeah, it looks like Isaiah Likely may be. I mean, he got doubled a couple times.
That's
and
true. They had a bracket coverage on him most of the night.
they treated him with a lot of respect, but still, Isaiah Likely may be tight end 1 there
Yeah,
going forward.
looking good for Isaiah Likely.
Looks like a big game
So
coming on.
Jacob, what game was your favorite of the week?
My
What game were
favorite
you
was the
hopping into?
Lions and the Rams. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I just felt like the Rams were going to be able to pull it out. It was close. You know, they lost Puka early. Matthew Stafford, man, I don't think anybody processes faster than him.
No. I would have said A-Rod, but then you watch this week and you're like, nope, not A-Rod either.
He just doesn't get enough credit the way he commands that offense, the way he commissions it down the field. Kyron had a decent game, just not, that defense is real. That Detroit
Yeah.
line front 7 is crazy.
Anzalone,
Anzalone is a monster, dude.
yeah, all night.
I
He's hitting him
think
in
I
the
saw him
mouth.
pancake a 320-pound lineman at one point.
Yeah, you don't see that from a
no,
linebacker.
you don't, and he's not a very big linebacker at that.
He's a freak.
And as we know, Cooper Cup, I mean, what, 21
Oh,
targets?
21 targets, 14
Fantasy
catches.
people, fantasy guys.
It looks like a wide receiver one
That's a
finish
win.
already.
Yeah, that's a
Puka's
win
out
if
for
you
the
got him.
season. Cup
Yeah.
rolling.
It's gonna be a fun season. 14 catches, what, a buck something?
14 catches. I want to say 120, 130 maybe. I want to say 120 though.
That last catch on the sideline. It wasn't the last catch, but one of them.
I remember we watched that live. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
he didn't get the foot
No,
down.
but
He got the
did.
foot down.
Catch of the week.
Yep.
I would say catch of the week. But that was a really good game. The Detroit Lions showed though that they haven't lost a step.
The Lions showed that 2-back system that they showed last year. It's
Yes.
still going to be the go-to.
But you
move for
saw
them.
who, when it was time to win the game, to close the game out, who was in? that whole dr-
Jameson Williams was taking off all night.
I mean, in the backfield though.
Oh, David Montgomery,
that whole drive just power.
that overtime drive.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
They
the
couldn't
Rams,
stop him.
No, they didn't know what to do back there.
They
They
knew
were
it was-
stacking the box and still couldn't stop
They
it.
couldn't stop the guy. Jameson Williams, JMO had a big game.
It's good to see him have a good game. I
Yes.
know he was kind of last year kind of getting disgruntled with his usage in the offense, and now it's good to see they look like they have that strong number 2 option beside Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
And then don't forget Laporta started off slow but ended up finishing still with over 50 receiving yards on 4 catches.
They got 3 threats in the receiving core, a 2-back system. I will say this though, and I was right about this. When you fluster Jared Goff, he does result back. He turns back into old Jared Goff. You put pressure on him, he just gets rid of the ball. Very rarely will he stand there.
That's how we saw that pick.
That's how we saw
That pick got on his back foot and just kind of put it up there for him.
So there is a key to beating them, trying to stop the run or at least stifling it a little bit, and just rushing Jared Goff so he's not comfortable in that.
The only bad thing is you give up that blitz. You saw what happened.
Yeah.
They do blitz one time, and then they don't have any safety over the top for JMO.
It was
and
clear.
to the crib.
That guy's fast. Super
Fast.
fast. All right, man. On to what everybody else wants us to talk about. We've got a lot of requests. We didn't talk about enough about the Cowboys last week, Wyatt.
No.
Apparently we did not. So let's really dive into this Cowboys-Browns game.
I want to start off with what happened before the game. I know we touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
But Dak Prescott is now the highest paid NFL player of all time.
Yeah, how does that look for the Cowboys moving forward? How do they pay Micah? How do they take care of the guys that coming up in the line?
They got Diggs. They got Micah, Bland coming up. And then you have those
they
young
paid
linemen.
Diggs a couple years ago, did they not?
They did. I think he has about 2 years left, though.
Yeah, he'll be.
And that's when it gets to the heart of CD and Dax. And then it opens it up, Micah. And then you have all those young linemen they've drafted a couple years back.
Yes,
Are they going to
Guyton,
lose linemen?
Smith. Well, Guyton's rookie, but Smith. And I know they cleared some cap space for the next year with the way they structure the contract, but I don't know how they're going to do it.
No.
But it seems like for now it's working. I just don't maybe agree with making him a $60 million quarterback.
No. I think he should have got about the same money Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence and all them got right at 55, not that 60.
And
mark.
that just breaks down the time because if you pay this guy at the beginning of the offseason, you're probably paying him 56,
Yeah.
55, 56 million. Jerry didn't want to do it. He waited out. And I think he likes to make a fluster about things, but he wants his guys to be the highest paid. But it hasn't been a recipe for success.
Hasn't even reached an NFC championship in his
No.
career. And now
This is year 9 for Dak.
people forget, like, he's a veteran at this point. He's not young Dak Prescott anymore.
No,
he's a
not.
veteran quarterback.
He's one of the older quarterbacks.
He's the
starting quarterbacks.
oldest quarterback to stay on the same team so far. So
Yeah.
if you look 9 years ago, none of those quarterbacks are on that same team they were on. It's only Dak.
But speaking of Dak, he didn't have crazy stats. I mean, he ran the offense really, really efficiently. I was very surprised with Mike McCarthy's play calling. It made me question. We were sitting on the couch, and I was like, "Who's calling the?" Mike McCarthy's calling the plays.
Yep.
It didn't look like.
No.
So
It's not the Cowboys from last year. It doesn't matter how much they're up or whatever. They're going to go run and gun the whole
Yeah.
game. They're going to be airing the ball out. They finally played smarter. I think he
They did play
learned from
smart.
the games he was losing last year against good teams
they did play
where they
smart.
would get up and then they end up coming back and
Mhm.
closing that gap. He kept it where that gap never got close.
It didn't
It
get-
was widened
it
the whole
didn't.
game.
But I will say this: it did look like last year too, because I mean, beginning of last year, 40-0 against the Giants. It's like, oh my gosh, look at them. The defense and special teams they're causing turnovers. They're scoring on special teams. The offense had 2 touchdowns?
Yep.
I believe. That was the same thing as last year.
They had that punt return.
Is it too soon to say that they look like it's their year or they're looking good, or is it the same old Cowboys? I mean,
It's always going to be the same old
You
Cowboys.
believe so?
Until I see something different from Dak in the playoffs, it's always
Yeah.
going to be the same old Cowboys. to
That's
me.
valid. That's fair. That's a fair.
Well, I'll put it this way: if he can win the games against those big teams like he hasn't been able to do in the past this year,
and this was a big game. This is a
Yep.
big win.
if he can go out and beat the Eagles,
Yeah.
I want him to beat the Eagles twice. For me to believe in
Convincing-
him,
or one time convincingly.
or go out and beat the Bucks. I really expect them to have a strong showing against the Saints.
I do too. The Saints did play well, but it was against the Panthers.
Yeah.
You can never question the Saints' defense. They're a good defense
They are.
always. It's really about Derek
It's-
Carr.
To me, it's that Cowboys defense. I don't think Derek Carr is going to be able to sit back and
He
play
won't.
the way he did. He moved out of the pocket, which is
He
the
did.
first
That
we've
was
seen out of
new.
Derek Carr. But it's going to be hard for those tackles to contain Micah with him moving, or just overall for them to
Yeah.
contain Micah
They're
Parsons.
they're using Micah different this year too. You can tell they're overloading that box to forcing to where if you're gonna put a 2-man or a 3-man on
You're
Micah,
going to leave something.
you're
You
gonna
better
leave a
get
lot.
out the ball.
they didn't
quick.
properly use him last year, and you could see just in the game one the way Mike Zimmer's possibly gonna call this defense moving forward.
I will say, Cowboys fans, I think y'all should be very happy about y'all's defense. It looks
Yeah.
like y'all are going to have, once again, another top 10 defense in the league. Trayvon Diggs didn't look like the old Trayvon Diggs where he's just going to, get beat over the top, but he's going to get all
Risking it
these
all.
picks.
Yeah, risking
He
it
looks
all
like
for
a
reward.
real sit-down man coverage corner who's still going to go get his picks
Yeah, he made that development to I think the year before
last season,
Yeah,
but obviously got cut short.
yeah, it got cut short. You could tell he's playing. He kind of upped his game in that way. He probably got tired of hearing that.
When Bland comes back,
Yes.
that defense is going to
And
get
that's another
even
guy they got to
nastier.
play.
Exactly.
They got to pay, dude. Oh man, it's probably a good thing and a bad thing to be a Cowboys fan. I wouldn't know, but they look good, man. I won't take anything away from them just yet. It's not the playoffs. Of course we got to see what's real. They won 12 games in a row. How many seasons now? Three seasons in a row for a reason. The playoffs is the question mark. The big game is the question mark. Dak's clutch ability to close things out is a question mark. Will it be different this year? We'll see. I don't know. How'd you feel about Zeke?
Zeke, honestly, still not the rookie Zeke, but he won't ever get back to that.
He'll
Zeke.
never get back to that.
But looked very good in my
He
opinion.
did. He looked more agile.
In my opinion, they do not need Dalvin Cook. If I was the
Yeah.
Cowboys, I'm releasing Dalvin Cook and I'm picking up maybe another D tackle to help with the run a little bit
Yeah,
more.
just
'cause,
depth.
Yeah. We didn't see the Browns run it too much, but when they did, Jerome Ford was pretty successful, I
He was
would say,
pretty
overall.
successful.
I would say maybe get another D tackle in there, or I would say an experienced middle linebacker, but Eric Kendricks played great.
Overshown played great. I will say that he had 11. I think he led the team with 11 tackles.
11 tackles, and then Kendricks looks very good
Yes.
too.
He
I was
looks like
questioning
early
his
Vikings.
age. Yeah, he
Kendrick.
does.
He looks really good.
He's flying around the field again.
Mhm. He's probably happy to be playing with Mike Zimmer again. He loves the offense.
Yeah.
He loves the defense. He knows the system.
He always loves Zimmer.
Yeah, he did. My question about him really is the run game going to stand up throughout the season? Because you do have an older veteran back in Zeke starting. Dowdle is in his 5th year. We have seen nothing from him outside of a little bit last year and this year.
That's what question. I have a question. Same question. I mean, Zeke, yes, he's going to start off strong, but is he going to be able to finish that? Honestly, I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say the same. I agree with you there. It's going to be the tale that tells, because if that falls apart, or if they go against a team that really does, like the Detroit Lions, the 49ers, we saw what they did. What is that going to do? What is that offense going to do? The first catch he made, I think it was over the top with one hand and brought it in. It was beautiful. He got paid. He well deserved. I'm starting to jump on that train with CD a little bit, where he may be number 2, arguably number 1. He's not Jetta's, but Jesus, man, this guy's a freak.
Yeah.
He's a freak. I would say with the Cowboys, though, what would you predict their winning record to be at the end of this year?
I'm going to go with, I'll give them 11 wins, 6 losses. I think they get right under that 12 mark this year.
Okay.
Just because of how much more competitive that NFC is and the NFC East is.
It is. I'm gonna give them some credit. I'm gonna go with 13 wins, but I think they lose big games in those 4 losses. I would say that.
What seed do you think they finish out with the NFC? Top 2 seed with 13 wins?
13. The NFC is a little bit rougher than people think now. 3 seed. I'm gonna give them the 3 seed. Yeah.
Who you got above them?
The Niners and the Lions.
Yeah,
because the Niners are real, man.
I still think the Eagles are coming out with that division.
The Eagles, I don't know, because I have a real big question mark on Jalen Hurts. As much big playability as he has, and ability to forget the play before when he makes a mistake. He does still make those mistakes in big moments sometimes. All right. Is that enough about the Cowboys? I think that's enough. I about have my fill with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I can't talk about him for too long.
On to next, man. We're going to go on to fantasy pop or drop. This is where we're going to go over what we saw this week in fantasy and players you should pick up or drop. Pop or drop.
I'm going to start off with right now the fantasy wide receiver 1, Jaden Reed. Coming into the season, we never really knew who the Packers' number 1 receiver is, but it came out through training camp. It looks like Reed was going to be the guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't have the most targets on the team, but obviously had the most production on the team.
He did.
But it looks like Jordan Love's going to miss some time, and the
He
Packers
is.
did come out and say today that Malik Willis is going to be their guy.
Oh,
And
did
if
they
if
really?
they
I
did, you
not
didn't see that? Yeah, they came out with that report around lunchtime today.
Well,
So if I am a Jaden Reed fantasy owner right now, I am trading immediately
yeah.
as soon as possible.
And that's sad to see, though. I mean, I told you. To me, he's wide receiver 1 over there. We had a discussion about this, of course.
I was saying Christian Watson.
He was saying Christian Watson, and he's a burner, man. But I just feel like Jaden Reed is that guy over there. But that's a good one right there to drop Jaden Reed just due to the quarterback position. I saw they were talking about picking up Tannehill. I guess it's not coming to fruition. Malik Willis. I mean, we've seen the guy play a couple times. He don't have it.
No. And then my biggest pickup for the week, I'm going to give it to J.K. Dobbins of the Chargers. We know with Jim Harbaugh's offense, they're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball all game. He did it at Michigan. He did it at San Fran. He's going to do it here. It really was a toss-up between Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins, who was going to be the number 1 guy.
That's true.
Edwards had the more carries, but Dobbins put up 135 yards, 1 touchdown on 10 carries.
10 carries.
I think
Really
for
carried
now
them
on,
to that win.
yeah, really did. I mean, Herbert didn't look overly strong.
No.
It looked like Dobbins is going to be the guy they rely on really this year in that offense
As
with
long
no
as he can
receiver
stay
depth.
healthy, we know. As long as we can stay healthy, he's
So-
going to stay healthy.
I would say my drop or trade of the week would be get rid of Jaden Reed if you have him and go pick up J.K. Dobbins, whether someone drafted him or he's on the waiver wire. If he's still on your waiver wire, pick him up now.
That's a good one. So I personally, this is my drop of the week. If you have D-Hop, he was questionable to come in the game. Obviously, he has a decent wide receiver core behind him. I'm going to say drop DeAndre Hopkins just for the volume of receivers they have there. Will Levis is not looking good. He may need some more time to, excel in that offense. I just feel like he won't put up the numbers we're used to as DeAndre Hopkins. I would drop DeAndre Hopkins moving forward. Now, I would pop on Rashid Shaheed. Chris Olave isn't looking too healthy right now. Did he go out at the end of the game?
Yeah, he came out at the end of the game. And then preseason, I was watching through preseason. I remember coming into work and I was saying, do not draft Olave. Olave is not going to be the guy. He does not look good. He had drops in preseason.
Yeah.
You could tell something was up in preseason, and it's carried over to the regular season.
It has carried over. You can say maybe it's a mental thing. I don't know what it is. I mean, Olave had big games, and he would have no games.
He's one of
year.
those big.
Mhm.
He kind of reminds me of DK. DK usually has a
Yeah,
huge game
that's
or
a
a
good
small
analysis.
game, and that's how Olave kind of is
Yeah.
too.
He has the potential to be, a game-changing receiver.
Oh yeah.
But I remember going back to last year, Shaheed, I would play against guys who had Shaheed, and I didn't even know who the guy was. I'm going to be frank with you about it. And he would just pop off 25, 30 points. And then this week, a quiet game, but he put up 16 points. I feel like he's going to be a great position for a flex if you can grab him.
Wide receiver wearing number 22,
Yeah,
I
that's
believe.
wild.
It's really weird to
It
see.
is.
One guy we didn't touch on that I think definitely should be mentioned that we both kind of missed is Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin finished that game with 1 catch.
Yeah.
Jane Daniels is looking the whole time. Jane Daniels, in my opinion, some people might say, oh, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. He had almost 100 rushing yards. He did not look like an NFL quarterback.
He didn't. He looked like he was.
He needs time to develop.
He does need time to develop. He resorted back to what he trusted, which was his running game. Which he trusted his long ball. He trusted his passing in college, but at this level, it's a different level. I think he wanted to be safe.
Yep.
Just win the game. Try to win the game. Score.
And I think he kind of really relied on, if my first read isn't there, all right, it's time to find the hole and scramble.
Yeah, because he didn't trust. Maybe is that to his line? I mean, maybe he doesn't trust his line that much to.
They do have a really bad.
They do have a bad line. Maybe he doesn't trust it to let it develop. He is small. Maybe he's aware. I can't sit back here and get pummeled. Let me take off. That's what it seems like to me. Very Johnny Manziel-esque when he came in.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, I mean, that's what I think we're sitting with this week. And if you got one more?
I think I do have one more. Let me check my notes. Who was it? Who did I grab, man? I grabbed him, and I was so glad I grabbed this guy. Let me see.
I know Jameson Williams. There's a couple of guys.
Did you pick him up?
I did get Williams. I got Williams and Dobbins in our
That's
league.
crazy.
I wasn't able to get Likely in time. Someone snagged him up.
Oh, the freaking Steelers kicker, dog.
Chris Boswell.
Chris Boswell. That's
22 fantasy points.
I thought it was 26.
Was it 26? Last I saw was 22.
26 fantasy points. With that quarterback controversy, they're probably not going to score too many touchdowns on our offense. It's going to be a lot of short drives, cut short, So Chris Boswell could mess around and win you. I mean, the 49ers guy, he put up 26 or 29 as well.
He did.
Jake Moody did.
I went against him week
but
1.
they're going to score. They're going to score tubs over there.
He did.
I'll pick up Chris Boswell. If you have a kicker, drop him for Chris Boswell.
Speaking of the Steelers, they came out today and said Justin Fields is going to be their QB1 continuing into week 2.
How do you feel about that? I don't know how I feel about that.
In my opinion, Russell Wilson's starting quarterback career in the NFL is over.
Over?
It's no longer in his hands. If Fields comes out and balls out, they're never going to look back.
But when
to
does he
Russell
ever
Wilson.
ball out, though? When does Justin Fields
He
ball
had
out?
those games towards the end of the season last year with the Bears.
Yeah.
They won 7 of their last 8 games with him back
but
there.
Would you call his play balling out? Like, I mean, look at the offense was stagnant. Yeah, there were some productive plays, but overall it was stagnant. There was no really points on the board.
I will say his deep ball looked great. He hit Pickens a couple times.
I mean, you see special when you see him play. I'm not saying that. I mean, of course, you don't see that from Russell anymore, but he knows how to facilitate an offense. And it's big when you have a veteran facilitating the offense, pushing down, making sure the drive, the timing, and everything in order to go score. We have yet to see that from Fields in the NFL.
I've been big on Fields since that second half of the season with the Bears. I was on the bandwagon saying, keep Fields, get a receiver.
I was there too, because as we see,
he was 7 of the last 8. Does not happen by accident.
It doesn't. I think he heard the murmurs. He knew his job was on the line. He tried to do whatever he could to save it. Speaking of it, the guy who took his job, how'd you feel about? Let's dive into the rookies of week 1, their performances.
Rookies of week 1.
Surprise rookies, the rookies that blundered. How do you feel about? We'll start it off with the number 1 overall pick,
Caleb Williams. Looked bad. Very underwhelming. I guess underwhelming would be the big word.
Yeah, it was underwhelming.
If you
the hype.
Yep. You see the hype. You see the preseason. Me and you both were low on Williams.
I wasn't on the Caleb Williams train.
And we saw him in preseason. We looked at each other one day and we were like, oh, they might have a guy.
They might have a guy. They might have a dude.
But, I mean, I think it's too early, obviously. Like we said, we're not going to overreact. But it's definitely a rough game 1 for Caleb. But I will say they did get the dub. First QB1 to win the game as a rookie. Number 1 pick since 2003.
In 2003, it's 21 years.
21 years.
21 years. Well, I saw some stats today that he actually played better than 2 great quarterbacks in their first game.
Let me guess. Peyton's one of them.
Nope.
Peyton's not one of them.
John Elway and Josh Allen.
Okay, yeah,
their games were horrible.
Josh Allen's first season was not a
it
great
wasn't
season.
pretty, but you can see the progression over his first season.
I mean, Geno. I mean, there's been tons of.
I mean, what do you expect? I guess we might have put too much expectations on him. I mean, that's what happens when you put the kid on Hard Knocks.
I mean, you've seen QBs go bad through the rookie year and end up great. I mean, Josh Allen's on there, and then you see great ones the rookie year like Mac Jones, and now you're like, wow, Mac Jones is on the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's 2 ends that it could go really.
But I do think his game, he's gonna have to change his game. He's gonna have to be able to be agile like he is, of course, but. These extended plays, these playground plays that he does, it's not going to work. This game's a different level of NFL.
Mahomes does all this stuff and makes it look so easy.
He does. And that's also what I thought of watching Caleb Williams. I was like, I guess Mahomes really is that good.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't not look
You
the
even
same.
see players translating it to the college level.
Yeah, Dylan Raiola.
He tries to be Patrick Mahomes.
Let's not even get on that. That creeps me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Jaden Daniels, how'd you feel about Jaden Daniels' performance overall?
I think like we touched earlier, I mean, out of all the rookie QBs, it was the best rookie QB debut we saw, but I wasn't very impressed. It was 1 read, run, 1 read, 1 run, and that's just not going to work in the NFL.
It's not. I mean, people are going to be able to scheme against that. He's going to have to do something. He's going to have to trust and develop. Are they setting him up for maybe the Patriots look like the smart ones now with letting
Drake May sit.
kind of sit, learn from Brissett. I don't know. I have a take on that later, but overall, I mean, we can't even speak to them. Who was the other rookie that really popped off to you? How about your boy down in New York?
Malik Neighbors.
Yeah,
Okay, so out of all the horrible things we have in New York, we have one bright spot.
you do have a bright spot there.
Malik Neighbors.
He looks like he can develop into a wide receiver one.
He looked like he had 60 yards
Yeah.
on 5 catches and was getting open most of the day. He did come out and say after the game what he feels like he needs to do to get the ball more, and he came out and said that he doesn't know what's going on back there behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that's a wild thing to say.
I saw some stats earlier about Daniel Jones.
Okay.
We've been talking about it. I think it is unquestionable. He is by far the worst QB in the NFL, and I'm a Giants fan saying this.
What about Bryce Young?
Does Bryce Young have more pick sixes than actual touchdowns since signing a $160 million contract?
He does not.
No. Mahomes, I mean,
At least Bryce Young has the height thing working.
he
against him.
Daniel Jones has the prototypical size,
Yeah.
a $160 million contract.
He's not slow.
The worst contract in NFL history, in my opinion. Oh, it's bad.
Deshaun Watson coming to
He still has more touchdowns than picks thrown. 8 picks, 2 touchdowns since signing that extension. That's bad.
Yeah, he's not looking good. He's not looking like he's. I feel like he's shrinking. You know, I feel like he's feeling the pressure from Dayball to be great, and it's not looking good. But I did call that game. I did tell you.
Yep.
The Vikings, Sam Darnold was going to look better.
You did call it. I thought that defensive front, that we are built our team around our defensive line
And
and
they
our
didn't.
linebacking
They didn't
core.
look very. Good
We
overall.
were awful.
Yeah.
Thibodeau had 0 tackles, not even just sacks, 0 tackles. It's not a great week. The only sack we had was from a D tackle, Dexter Lawrence.
Do you think if this continues, they're going to come for Dayball's head?
I hope not.
Because they have that since.
Yep.
You know, they've been doing that every year or two.
I really believe Brian Daboll is an amazing head coach. I mean, he won a playoff game with the Giants.
He did that first year,
And we were not supposed to even be in the playoffs.
That's true. That first year, he had them looking like not contenders, but looking like legitimate like foes in the NFC. He had attitude behind them, but maybe he's not supposed to be a head coach. Maybe he is an offensive coordinator. Maybe he's a quarterback coach. I mean, you saw what he did with Josh Allen. I feel like he had Daniel Jones believing in himself that first year, but
I don't even think Daniel Jones believes in himself at this point.
I mean, you got to have some type of belief in yourself.
If
as a
I'm Daniel
quarterback in the
Jones at
NFL.
this point, I'm putting a job application
He's
up
probably,
on Indeed.
oh my God. The locker room, he's probably losing the locker room. I mean, it's a long season. I don't want to overreact. I would just hate for them to be like they were last year.
It's not an overreaction. It's been years coming. I'm a Giants fan. Get rid of Daniel Jones, please. It's hard to watch. Bring me Tommy DeVito back.
Tommy DeVito. We spoke on that last week. At least there was some pizzazz. There was some flash. He won some games against some good
He beat
teams,
the Packers.
He had New York just like rolling.
Yes.
The whole city.
Let's just say I'm watching college football close this year to see who I want my QB1 to be.
What about the guy down in Arizona? 1 catch. Marvin Harris.
So he was bracket covered, which is crazy for your first game to be bracket covered. You know he's a dog. So I'm not going to overreact to it. I'm going to say, everyone relax. He's bracket covered by a pretty decent secondary with the Bills. Great head coach, obviously. Very defensive-minded head coach with Sean McDermott. So, I mean, I'm not going to overreact.
And when you only have really one guy in the wide receiving core, I mean, what are you going to do?
What disappointed me, though, was Trey McBride didn't really produce like I thought he would with
They're going to
Harbison
need
being
another
covered like
receiver
that.
to take the pressure off, to really stretch the field.
Losing Marquise Brown is already looking like it's going to hurt him a little bit because all that pressure's on Harrison.
Kyler balled out a little bit, I would say so. He didn't make the best decisions.
Midget did look good.
He was balling, though. That was actually a pretty decent game. But as we see in that game,
my prediction almost came true. The
it
Cardinals
almost
had
came true,
him.
but my prediction did come true. Josh Allen got it done. And I said Josh Allen because it's his revenge season, man.
He's solidified himself as the second best QB in the NFL.
I would say so. 18 for 23, 200-something yards, 4 total tubs. The hurdling the guy to get in the end zone. I think he's hearing everything. He's going to prove everybody wrong. He don't need Stephon. He's the man.
Touching on the rookies, I want to hit the last QB that started with Bo Nix.
Oh, yeah. Bo
I
Nix.
thought Caleb Williams looked bad, and then I turned on the TV, and I watched Bo Nix play football.
But you can see the plan, though, with Bo Nix. I feel like it didn't look good. But to be fair, I mean, that Seattle defense might be the real deal.
I love that defense.
That defense is
in my
crazy.
opinion, the best two corners in the league. Well, not the best 2 corners, like team-wise. They have the best 2 out of any team.
I'm I mean, imagine coming in as rookie, you got all this hype behind you, people are questioning you, and the first defense you go with, the first secondary you go against is that secondary.
Yeah,
And
Witherspoon and Woolen.
and Mike McDonald. I mean,
Yeah,
he's a defensive minded coach.
and
Yep.
Julian Love, a former Giant, great safety.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, is that the best secondary in the league? Arguably, you could
It's
say it is.
arguable.
They got some guys up front too. That's a hard. I mean, Jordan Brooks in the middle. I mean, that's a hard defense to go against for your first game. I'm not gonna, just be done with Bo Nix yet. I think I can see where Sean Payton's going, the development, if it can get there. Think I have him for my pick of rookie of the year. It's too early for me to throw him out. That's all I'm gonna say on Bo Nix.
My best rookie, I think, of the week was definitely Xavier Worthy. We touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, that offense, almost any wide receiver, if you have speed and you go over to the Chiefs, they're going to make you a top receiver.
Yeah, you got so many weapons over there. I mean, they got
The way they use them, all that motion, you
Mhm.
can't run with that motion. You
No.
got to send different guys out there, and then they're just going to exploit a mismatch.
Andy Reid, like we touched on it, man. He's a genius.
Best head coach
Mahomes,
in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, arguably ever.
Yeah.
I mean, if they three-peat, that's a real discussion.
Yep.
You know, Mahomes. We like to talk on his, his ability to like extend the play, do all these crazy plays. But what he doesn't get touched on enough is his intelligence, the mode he gets in when it's like he plays freely when he knows it's time to win.
It's like LeBron when playoff
It
times
really
come around.
is. That's a great comparison. He switches.
Yep.
And he does not make mistakes when
No.
he gets in that mode. All these free passes and crazy passes and extended plays and runs.
And
when
then
he gets in
it's-
that mode, it's just like
It's time to lock in.
death by 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
It's locked in. Oh man, it's really nice to see. I'm not a big Mahomes fan, but nobody plays a position better and more exciting at that. To be honest, arguably Lamar, but he doesn't play.
I know you said he had that Steph Curry comparison. I'm going to compare him more to LeBron.
LeBron. So he's gonna lose 6 times in the championship. I'm here for that, man.
No, don't play with me.
Let's not get on that, man. All right, Wyatt, we're gonna roll into contenders and pretenders.
My favorite segment.
Is this your favorite?
We need to make this a segment every single podcast.
I like this.
Got my teams written down.
Contenders and pretenders. Who is your biggest pretender?
My biggest pretender isn't just one team or one player. My biggest pretender is the AFC North.
The AFC North as a whole?
Yes.
Wow, that's wild.
We came in saying that's the best division in football.
I mean, it has been, maybe not the best, arguably the best, but the toughest for sure.
In my opinion now, most overrated division in football.
Wow.
The
After
Browns,
1 week?
After 1 week. I mean, the Browns looked like they couldn't play football.
Didn't we speak on this earlier? Don't overreact.
All right. My bad. I won't overreact.
That's a
Deshaun
good take,
Watson
though.
can still be good.
That's out for debate. Most
The
likely
Steelers,
won't be.
I will touch on the Steelers. They didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, but I mean, Mike Tomlin, man,
The Bengals lost to the Patriots.
again, it's week
Let
one.
me get on Joe Burrow for a minute. Joe Burrow, you're supposed to be a top 3 QB in the NFL. You just lost to the New England Patriots with a first-time head coach, and your best receiver was out there.
He was a tutelage of arguably the greatest head coach, Bill Belichick.
It's
Maybe
true.
he's going to be a good coach,
But-
especially a defensive-minded coach.
Come on, Joe. I picked y'all to win y'all's division. Like, I need
You
you
did
to
do
play
that.
better football.
My pick's looking worse. I picked the Browns. I mean, I need the
Yeah.
defense to get better.
You need to chalk that one up.
Yeah, I might have to go ahead and eat that week one. I think I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and eat that one. You can call me, a backslider, whatever you want to call me. I'm going to eat that take. If they do end up coming out and winning it, I'm going to be very upset that I moved so fast, but I'm going to go with the Ravens.
So,
Safe
yeah.
pick.
My biggest pretender's got to be the AFC North. There's problems in Cincinnati. Lamar isn't clutch. The Steelers can't score a touchdown, and Deshaun Watson just doesn't know how to play football anymore. So my biggest pretender is the AFC North.
Okay, I like that. My biggest pretender, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are my biggest pretender. They are every year. We go through this every year. Here's where the hate comes out. Look, I don't hate them. I do. Maybe just a little bit. When I was a little boy, I used to cheer for them, root for them, hope for them. Now, they broke my heart too many times. I came to my senses when I was 10. Who's the other team down in Texas? The Texans. I know they're bad, but when they become good, it'll be worth it. The Dallas Cowboys are pretenders, man. They have been. They always will be until they prove me wrong and a lot of people wrong by shutting us the hell up and winning a Super Bowl. Because the NFC Championship ain't going to cut it.
They can't even get there.
Look, we saw this last year, man. Started hot, heavy. It looked amazing. I was even texting my kinfolk, be like, hey, man, I don't want to say it, but y'all look like, man, it might be. And then they lose to the Cardinals. They're going to do this. What happens when Dak doesn't get help from the special teams, from the defense, and he has to do it himself? He'll do it at one a game or two, but against real opposition, real threats, they're going to fold. They always fold. The Cowboys fold. That's what they do.
I said the Cowboys are going to beat the Saints next week, but don't be surprised if the fold starts early this season and Derek comes off and takes them boys' heads off and wins that first game.
I could see it. That's my biggest pretender. Hate me if you want to. Dallas Cowboys, y'all are just a facade. Y'all are about money. You're about entertainment. You're not about championships. You haven't been since 1995, 96, whichever year it was. That's how long it's been.
I wasn't even born.
I was probably just born, maybe one. Yeah, the real team in Texas is the Texans.
We're going to piggyback off the Cowboys-Saints matchup. My second biggest pretender is going to be the New Orleans Saints.
Saints?
That defense looked good, but any defense looks good playing Bryce Young.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even know if he can see over his offensive line.
That's like
it's like 5'8" out there.
When you were in high school, man, and you were just killing it at the end of practice against JV.
Really, the JV2s.
The JV2s, and you're out there flexing. It's like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
You're doing a little too much.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to get back to the same old Derek Carr.
Yeah, we've seen it for his whole career. He had one season, but then it got cut short. We're like, oh, my God.
Olave already doesn't look like he's going to be – there's something wrong with Olave.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a thing with wide receiver ones down there. Is it some voodoo? Is it some voodoo they got down there in New Orleans? And NOLA, as they say? I don't know. Who knows?
That defense can only keep them in so many games, but I think when that defense goes against those big offenses, they can't win shootout games. There's no way they win shootout games, and they're going to have to get into some of them. So
they're going to have to, and they won't be able to.
Baker Mayfield, when he comes around to play them Saints twice here, he's going to play around with them boys.
Imagine that. If Baker folds him.
So, yeah, shout out Nick, but your Saints are frauds.
Shout out Nick. My second pretender, is the Miami Dolphins, dude.
Even after a win?
I mean, they did the same thing last year. They're the Dallas Cowboys of the South.
I don't know. I'm here for the Dolphins. Tua, that's the first time I've seen Tua really play comeback since the national championship game in college.
But you had like it was a good deficit. It wasn't that crazy of a deficit. And it was the Jags. Their secondaries, it's suspect at best. I will say that. I'll stand by that.
We definitely going to differ on the Dolphins.
We're going to defer.
We'll put it that way.
That's fine, man. They're going to have big games. They're going to look really good. When it comes down to it, they're going to fold. When it comes down to the cold weather, when it comes down to the hard-hitting defenses, they're going to fold.
Their defense, though, is finally healthy, and it looked good. That defense looked good. 17 points.
Week 1, man. It's week 1. That's all I'm going to say. And they had Brian Thomas, a rookie, almost doing what he wants.
Hey, Brian Thomas is nice.
He is nice, but, I mean, come on. Overall, on paper, they look like a crazy defense, but so do the Cowboys. I think when it comes down to it, people are going to play smash mouth football. They're going to hit them right in the mouth, and they're going to run right over them. Tua, man, he's a lot like Jared Goff in that way, smaller, but they compared CJ to Jared Goff coming in, but Tua was like a left-handed Jared Goff to me. Put some pressure on him, he folds. Very rarely will he stand in there and just deliver it.
He's a really poor man's Drew Brees, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great comparison too. A poor man.
Yeah,
a homeless man's Drew Brees.
Homeless man's Drew Brees.
Shout out to the hobos.
My last pretender, I'm going to go with a team I was really high on, had them winning their division, the New York Jets.
Ooh.
The offense, they were barely on the field, it felt like. I mean, the 49ers were just doing whatever they wanted on offense, playing the game at their speed. And for the Jets to be a team that's built by a defensive head coach and is supposed to have a strong defense, they looked trash on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, they looked desolate. It looked like they were barren out there. CJ Mosley was probably the only highlight, and even he looked like he had a bad game at times. Sauce did his thing, but
the 49ers scored on all 8 possessions.
Why'd they even show up?
When have you seen? So tell me how many times last year a team scored on all 8 possessions.
Ooh, I can't.
It didn't happen.
It didn't
That's
happen.
why you can't.
That's
it didn't
wild.
happen.
It did seem like it was like, oh, here we go again. And you had a back. I haven't heard of the kid. I mean, he played great, but the Mason kid just came in there and ran all over that.
And I'll touch a little bit later in one of our later segments on what I think about that 49ers running back room.
Yeah.
But right now, pretender's going to be the Jets. Defense looked bad. The offensive side of the ball, I mean, you're not going to win games throwing the ball to 4 different guys the whole game. I mean, in A-Rod, he's always been known to get the ball out quick. And he did that again last night,
He
but it's
did.
not the same type of, oh, that's what's going to be open. I'm going to hit it.
Yeah.
It was more
and
of
then
a,
one of their scores was a just veteran savvy, a blunder on the
defense.
the false with the free play, over the top of Lazard. So
I
I
mean,
mean,
Tyrod Taylor had one possession and had the same amount of touchdowns as Aaron Rodgers last night.
yeah, but it's kind of throwaway points. But I see what you're saying. And I was very disappointed in the run game for the Jets too.
Brees Hall?
Mm.
Braylon Allen time.
That probably is it. Braylon Allen time.
Braylon Allen
Maybe
time.
it's a little too soon, but I would like to see some spunk. A lot of fire under Brees. Like, damn, this kid could take my job because Braylon Allen is a beast. I'm calling for it. But that just goes to the Jets' offensive line, man. I mean, they're suspect. We knew that. I've been touching on it, for a while now. They picked up Tyron, but, he's on the way out the league, if you ask me. They let go of Makai. We saw what Makai did with the Packers. They got him at guard now. The Eagles do. He was looking very good. That shows poor coaching and not using your guys,
I will give it to the Eagles, though. They always develop O-line.
They do.
I can't think of a year when they didn't have a good O-line.
That is a fortitude to Howie Roseman. I mean, drafting and going and acquiring players and finding a role for them.
They just develop. I mean, they might be one of the best, if not the best, drafting team in the league.
I'd say they're the best, probably.
Yeah. They always hit 4th round, 5th round.
All right, man. Who's your contenders this year?
Did you hit your last pretender?
My last pretender, I didn't really want to touch on it because I kind of just called them to win the North. But the Ravens are my last pretender. I was hoping we were going to skip over that.
Yep, like we're going to skip right back to the AFC North. Pretenders. You're helping me out here.
Yeah. I feel like overall they're pretending. I don't think they're going to utilize Derrick Henry as they're supposed to. Lamar is going to chase Mahomes all year. They're going to look good against decent teams and bad teams, but the good teams, the top 2-3 teams, they're not going to compete with, and overall, they won't go further than the divisional round this year.
For my number one contender, they looked great. They played another, what everyone seems to call contenders also with the Rams. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions as my number one contender as of right now. Yep. Lions look good. I mean, really all over, everywhere on the field, they looked
did.
good. There wasn't, in my opinion, one weak spot on that team.
The only weak spot, like I said, you can point out is they got the best O-line arguably in the league, but is getting pressure on Jared Goff and making him make a mistake.
Because we were watching that game, watching that O-line like, oh my gosh, this O-line is nasty.
Yeah, it was last year. They were up until like the last 2 weeks of the season, they were the best line in the league.
Penei Sewell might be the best tackle in the league.
He might. I mean, yeah, I'm here for that. I don't know. I'm gonna stand by my guy Laramie Tunsil. I'm riding with him.
Fine, if we're going to do that, Andrew Thomas.
No, we're not doing that. I like that, man. I like that pick a lot. The Lions can go very deep right now. They seem put together. And the interview after the game, I watched it. I don't know if you did. Dan Campbell, man, they believe in that guy.
Oh, they love that guy.
They trust that guy. They love that guy. He gets you fired up.
I was sitting on the couch listening to pregame speeches sometimes of his, and I'm like, I want to just go, eat a
bite
whole,
some kneecaps off. Dan Campbell's they're the real deal down there. Kind of makes me question. Well, look, my pick for the divisional earlier this year obviously has to be voided. The Packers aren't going to win. Can we void that now?
I'll let you void it week 1. Just if Jordan Love ends up coming back early and they look good, don't say nothing.
So if he comes back after 5, if he misses 5 weeks, it gets to be voided, and I'll pick the Lions. If not, and they can hold together.
You're big on the Vikings. Why not take them?
I'm big on them being better than people think. Like, ergo, they're going to be able to beat the Giants because that was delusional that you said they were the worst
team in the NFC.
Sam Darnold's going to command that offense better than people think.
I'm pretty sure the Giants and the Panthers have a matchup this year.
Guess where it's at? Revenge of World War II, The Last Punishment. It's in Munich, Germany.
The Giants and Panthers?
Yes. Good at 6:30 a.m. for Americans.
Oh, I'm happy I'm going to be missing that game as a Giants
be sleeping
fan.
in on that one. That's crazy. That's probably the worst game. Hey, Germany, check out these guys. And they're probably going to be like, dang, that's some good football. It's the worst. It's the worst teams in the league. Here you go.
Oh.
That's funny.
So your contender number 1?
My contender number 1. No surprise, probably bias. Houston Texans. Look, we wrapped up business on the road. A secondary looked a little suspect this week. Stingley, I've been riding with you. I'm saying defensive player of the year, possibly. I believe you're the best cornerback in the league. I'm going to need you to get on the ball, man. But overall, CJ did not lose a step. People talked a lot about, Anthony Richardson has big playability. I'm standing by it. He's a bust. Dude was 9 for 19,
We got
47
some hate
completions.
with that the last podcast.
Yeah.
9 for 19. He still had people were gonna say, "Oh, he had 200 yards." If you're throwing a deep ball up to a 6'4" receiver on
Yeah.
a 5'10" safety, that's the receiver making that play.
It is.
As it was. We saw him miss plays where they could have won the
Do
game.
I expect you to hit a wide open receiver as a number 4th overall draft pick in the NFL? Can you at least hit that wide open receiver?
You missed him 3
You
times.
missed 3 other wide open receivers that would have resulted in possibly a win for the game.
And the Texans dropped 2 picks.
Yeah.
Realistically, that game should have ended with 3 picks,
Yeah.
7 completions,
Yeah.
and well under 200
I feel like
yards.
mistakes were made on our end to make the games look
Yep.
closer. CJ, however, yeah, he threw one bad ball that the guy stepped out of bounds. It was a pick on. He was trying to get rid of it. He threw another pick, but it obviously got called back because of the holding. The guy pulled the guy towards him. The defender did to get in front of the ball. He just plays methodical. He has all those weapons. We're the real deal down there. We held Jonathan Taylor to 45 rushing yards. Anthony Richardson had some rushing yards on us, but I mean, people get excited over the big plays and this and that. I mean, watch the game.
And let me touch on what you said catch of the week earlier going to Cup. I'm going to give it to Nico Collins on that first down to seal the game.
To ice the game.
That was
Andrew had texted me, man. He was like, you getting nervous? And I called it. Then I called it to you. I was like, no, he's finna hit Nico right now to ice the game. What
2
happened?
plays later, he hits Nico and ices the game.
It was nice.
In my opinion, the best catch of the week.
Okay. I appreciate that. Respect. My second contender, believe it or not, Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
I got a Buffalo Bills. They're right there. People are going to count them out. Josh Allen is going to put his head down. He's going to grind these wins out because he's the most electrifying player in the NFL. And they're going to be right there in contention as they are the last 3 years. But can they get over the hill? We'll see.
I hope that defense can hold up for him too, losing a lot of key pieces.
He's the guy who's like, yeah, you're going to give up 35, I'm going to go get 40.
That's true. I mean, he did it this week.
Yes.
So, I mean, James Cook looked established.
I called that too as well. I mean, I like to point that out. I got to point out your wins because, we talk about our losses. We hit our wrongs head on. I'm going to call my rights. Joe Brady, he knows what he's working with. He's smart. He gets him developed into the game. James Cook looked good.
In my opinion, they picked up the sleeper in the draft last year too with Keon Coleman.
He looked good.
And it looks like they have a wide receiver 1 out in Buffalo.
It does. We didn't even talk on him earlier.
I will say Kincaid, 2 targets.
Yeah.
I called it week 1. I'm not high on Kincaid. I've been saying it all off season. He didn't do anything in the second half of the season with the new OC. He's not going to do anything this half.
It's just, it is one of those things.
Low
I
on
feel like
Kincaid.
they're gonna make sure they get the dub over the stats this year. I mean, Josh Allen's gonna have gaudy stats because he holds the ball, but I don't think they're concerned about what it looks like just at the end of every game.
They just want the win.
They want the dub.
My contender number 2, I've been high on them all offseason. I've been high on them since the playoffs last year. The guy next to me doesn't seem to be so high on them. Give me the Tampa Bay Bucks and Baker Mayfield as a contender. They're in a bad division, so they're going to get to the playoffs. I mean, after how the Falcons looked, the Panthers looked, I mean, that division looks like it belongs to Tampa Bay.
You think so? You think the Saints aren't gonna put up a fight?
I think Baker is the guy. I mean, I've been telling you this for about 2 weeks now.
Yeah,
that I'm so high on Baker.
You've been very.
And
high
then what
on
is
him.
he?
What'd you call him the other day?
He's what Brock Purdy wish he was.
No, you said he's the Brady's.
He's the Tom Brady's of Brock Purdy's.
I love that, dude. The Tom Brady's of Brock Purdy's.
Baker Mayfield, almost 300, 286, 4 touchdowns, the highest rated PFF quarterback of the week.
Yeah, he looked good, man. I mean, even going back to last year, he was the only quarterback to go into Green Bay and throw 4 touchdowns.
Mike Evans, is he ever going to look his age? Is he ever going to regress?
I hope not. I got him on fantasy, dude.
Mike Evans is a dog. Chris Godwin's a dog.
Yeah. Even Kate Otten he gets...
That's a solid tight end.
It's a solid tight end. He's developed into a solid tight end.
And then they obviously have, a good running back with Rashid White. He didn't look great, but it doesn't matter because Baker.
He's a numbers guy, though. I mean, at the end of the year, you're going to look at his numbers. You can say he produced. He's going to produce. Might not always look the best, but he's going to produce.
And I know they played the Commanders.
They're swaggy, too. I would say that Baker has got them rolling with attitude. They're swaggy. They believe in themselves. They're confident. They did play the Commanders, but Dan Quinn is a formidable defensive mind in the league. He's one of the great minds in the league.
Baker just sat back and iced
them up
all night.
I like it. I don't believe in it fully, but I like it. Maybe towards the end of the year, I'll be like, All right, but right now, I'm not with it. But I like to take it that they're a contender because the division they're in, they can surprise people like they did last year against the Eagles.
I mean, don't be surprised if they end up a top 2 seed. I mean, they can sweep that division. If we're being honest, they could go through and sweep that
They
division.
could. If any team, they still have a good defense. They still got some
Yep.
players. That they're probably the second best defense in their division, arguably the first. I don't want to hop on that train just yet, but I like where you're going with that
Yep.
for sure. For sure. My other contender is gonna be the Rams. We spoke on this earlier.
We
The
did.
Rams are a contender.
Even with a loss.
Now the
did look good.
49ers look Jesus, man. They look,
I mean, I didn't mention them because I think everyone already they were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Like saying I wasn't going to mention them.
it's
I was
gonna be
mention the
harder. I thought they were
Chiefs.
gonna lose a step. That offensive scheme, the way they play that team, the way it's built, everything, the depth. It is what it is. But I really believe the Rams, once they get rolling, once they believe in themselves, once they get some wins stacked, they can beat anybody.
Yep.
They can beat anybody. I'm gonna roll with the Rams. I won't ever count Sean McVay out. Matthew Stafford. I mean, he probably the quickest mind in the NFL, if you ask me. Can make some of the crazy throws. He is up in age now, but he's still, when he's taking a hit, he's able to fall back on his foot, let it go, and drop it in the bucket. And not many people can do that nowadays.
We saw it last night, and the analysts were like, "That might be the throw of the year
Yeah.
already." He couldn't even see the receiver. I don't think.
Oh yeah, on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the receiver was still covered. He just trusted where he was going to be,
and he put
dropped
it right there,
and it was perfect. It's
while
beautiful.
getting hit.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's like watching a magician.
I'm on that same train with you. The Rams looking good. I want to see if their offense can still put up numbers, big numbers, without Puka being there with just Cup. I
Yeah.
don't think they'll struggle, but it's something I'm going to look out for these next couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
because now you don't have to worry about that second receiver. You're gonna have some guys step up. That Whittington kid, they're
Yeah.
really high on him down there in LA. I'd like to see him step up. That the tight end, man. That tight end,
Parkinson.
Parkinson,
Parkinson.
one of the two. Forgive us for butchering the name. He stepped up
Yeah.
in that game. He looked good. We're not saying he's a crazy pickup or whatever, but he's gonna be serviceable for the year.
A guy I want to touch on because everyone was saying, it looks like Corum and Williams might split that backfield,
Yeah,
but Corum didn't get an offensive
he did.
snap.
And I never understood that. I mean, there is hype because of the Michigan hype or whatever, but he's still a rookie. Kyron's proven. You kind of got to earn that. Maybe out throughout the year to save and reserve for the playoffs. Kyron, you can see him getting some snaps. But who was the guy that came in?
Rivers was his last name.
Rivers, and you can see the separation between the two. He did his job, but there was a big separation
Oh,
between
yeah.
Kyron Williams.
Kyron might not put up the yards, but I mean, it looked like he was going against a loaded box when Puka came out of the game.
Yeah, they definitely did. The Lions understood the assignment. They had to load the box, put pressure on Matt Stafford. They didn't have to worry about Puka as much. They still really couldn't stop Cup. That was a good game. I got the Rams going pretty far this year.
And my last contender, last one I'm going to touch on is the Philadelphia Eagles. I was high on coming into this. I predicted them to win the Super Bowl.
You did.
And I'm
You
going to
did.
stand by it. As of right now, I'm standing by it.
Saquon's first game, you know what? I agree with you. They're definitely a contender. A.J. Brown did his thing.
I mean-
Devonta Smith did his thing. Jahan Dawson did get a target, but it's, you just got to the offense.
He's been there, 2 weeks?
2 weeks. You can't judge anything by that. Hurts can be finicky, but if he can, maybe it's to the Kellen Moore offense. They're just going to slang that
Because,
thing.
I mean, in my opinion, Prescott had very similar games where he had rushing yards,
yeah.
rushing touchdowns in the goal line, and then had 300 yards with 2,
Yeah,
3,
under the
4
Kellen Moore.
touchdowns and 1 or 2 picks.
Under Kellen Moore's.
Yep.
And they're not afraid to just throw
Nope.
it. And maybe
And
that's what that is.
I said I was not going to miss Saquon. I still don't miss Saquon based off just the contract,
Yeah.
but gosh, it hurt to see him do that good in an
Ball
Eagles
out.
uniform. In an Eagles uniform is what really got me. Any other uniform except the Cowboys, I would have been like, oh, this isn't that bad. I can deal with this.
I won't lie, man. His cuts look
Eagles
better.
uniform, it hurts.
Maybe it wasn't uniform, but his cuts look better. He looked flashier. He looked stronger. He looked faster.
He looks happier.
He looked happier. Maybe that's what it was. I feel
It's
sorry
what
for
it
you,
is.
man.
It's tough being a Giants fan.
It ain't for the faint-hearted.
Let's
that's
just
for
say
sure.
if Daniel Jones our QB1 next season, I'm going to be opening applications because I can't take much more.
You can
of
come
this.
and jump on the Texans bandwagon, bro. Unless we win a Super Bowl, then it's too late.
Yeah, I think it's already a little too late. I'm gonna hop on a lower team. Maybe
That's
the
respectable.
I like
That's
the
respectable.
Seahawks.
I'm agree with you there. I think the Eagles are contenders. I think they're gonna go. I touched on it last week with Jalen's ability to step up in leadership, and that's crazy because Jason Kelsey came on. I was watching. He came on and basically said what I said. I'm not saying, oh, whatever, but it's seeable. You have to take this next step if you want to take your team, especially with the locker room situation, the coaching situation. If it's questionable, if it's not, if they're good or they're not, they need their quarterback to take that next step in leadership. And you kind of show it when you make those mistakes and you go back out there and you ball and you just solidify the game. I think they're going to go as far as he takes them because they're star-studded, man. The rookies there look. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell. We didn't touch on him at all. He looked nice.
He did look
He was
nice.
very good. He was almost shut down.
And I know Jordan Love got injured at the end, though. They beat a good Packers team.
They did.
They beat a healthy
very
Packers,
good Packers team. It was going tit for tat, but
Jalen Hurts stepped up when they needed him to. That's what matters.
It is what matters in this league. Because at the end of the day, what happens in a Super Bowl, you got to step up and make the plays.
I mean, he looked great in that Super Bowl he played in.
Yeah.
He outplayed Mahomes in that Super Bowl.
I agree with you there. I agree. That's good. That's good. I like that, man.
I love that.
We're agreeing on the Eagles right now?
We are. I'm converting you.
I mean, I'm not an Eagle hater. I rooted for them in the Super Bowl, just because I'm kind of a Chiefs hater. But it is what it is. All right, man, we're going to move on to lines of the week. Wyatt here's going to go over lines you should take in the week.
So here's the 3 picks I think you should go on, make you a little bit of cash. Give me Josh Allen over 234 yards against the Miami Dolphins. Key stat for this one, his last 5 games against the Dolphins, 352, 304, 400, 359, and 320. If this stays on this trend, you're going to make some money with this one. My next one's going to be Zay Flowers. He's going up against a bad Raiders secondary. Great D-line, but that's not going to be a problem with Lamar. He's going to escape that D-line. And then what's going to happen? There's going to be holes in that secondary. So Zay Flowers had 10 targets last week. He had big plays that got called back due to some offensive line issues.
Yeah.
But he would have cleared 51 yards last week. And I think this week he clears 51 in the first half. So I'm taking Zay Flowers over 51 yards in the whole game. That's the line for the whole game. And then last but not least, you're going to love this one. Give me Joe Mixon over 67.5 rushing yards.
I'll take that one. He put up 160 last week.
Yep, going up against a really bad Bears defensive line and just overall defense. I mean, they let Tony Pollard have 5 yards per carry and 82 rushing yards. So a guy who just put up, what was it, 150?
160.
160, and they're going to give him volume. 68 should not be a problem for you. So I think you put those 3 in, you're going to make a little bit of cash, and you can come back and tell me, thank you.
There you go, man. Wyatt's lines of the week. Let's move on to the last couple segments, man. 3 locks of the week. We'll run through that real quick.
My 3 locks of the week, they're not going to be your traditional locks. They're going to be like, wow, you're taking that as a lock? But I am.
I mean, think that's what we call a lock, man.
It's a lock. These are locks. First one, give me the Jaguars. They got the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot of drama going on with the Browns now with this Deshaun Watson thing, especially after,
Did you see the clip of Joe Bitonio swatting his hand away when he tried to help him up? Deshaun tried to help him up. He's like, move, man. Get off me. You didn't see that? There is something going on in Cleveland.
So, I mean, they're looking down. The Jags, I mean, they almost beat a good Miami Dolphins team. Trevor Lawrence looked great. So, give me the Jags over the Browns as my first lock. My second one, I'm going to roll with the Rams over the Cardinals. Rams looked great. They're not playing the Lions this week. They're playing the Cardinals. So, I mean, that one's a kind of a more simpler one for me. The last one, some people may not like. I'm high on it. Give me the Colts over the Packers. I know we may not be the biggest Anthony Richardson fans over here, but I think they can get that job done. They can rely on my opinion. I mean, you saw what Saquon just did to him. Josh Jacobs can put up big numbers against him.
Yeah.
Also. I mean, and they have a healthy team as of now before AR-15 gets hurt later this year. They have a healthy team.
As not big fans, we can't wish that upon them.
I'm not wishing it. It's just
inevitable.
The stats back it up.
Okay.
But the Packers, they don't have their QB. And if you watched Malik Willis at the end of the game, I know it was only a couple plays, but that was some of the worst quarterbacking I've ever seen.
Every time he gets in a game.
Oh my gosh, it's bad. He had one good preseason game. They're like, oh, yep, let's go get him just in case. Well, I hope this just in case works because it's not looking good for y'all. So my 3 locks, give me the Jags, give me the Rams, give me the Colts this week.
So we had 2 of the same, Rams and Colts. I got those in as locks. Of course, I'm going to take the Niners over the Vikings. Sam Darnold was in that offense last year, but Kevin O'Connell was a good offensive mind, but they're just not on the same playing field.
I mean, you got the Niners up here, and then you have the Vikings.
Yeah. It's a for sure.
Like here. It's not, for sure. It's a big gap.
That's a true lock. Wyatt, I don't know about that Jags one, man. I wouldn't. If you're going to bet on that, take it up with him.
Give me the Jags. Browns are dysfunctional like usual.
All right, man. Give me one hot take to end it.
One hot take. I had a couple I was going to go with. I kind of touched on my Baker being top 10, but I mean, I'm going to save that. I'm going to let the season progress a little bit. But give me Joe Burrow, not a top 5 QB.
Not a top 5
Not
QB?
a top 5 QB. Some people are not going to like this, but all we've been hearing lately about Joe Burrow is, oh, he's healthy this year. He's going to come back. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And then what does he do week 1? Nothing. What did he do last year before injury, if we're being honest?
Yeah.
Really nothing.
He was injured going in. They do start slow usually, but it didn't look the same.
No.
It did
Joe
not look the
Burrow
same.
hasn't looked the same since that Super Bowl. Even in that Super Bowl, he didn't look great. I mean, if we're going based off the last couple of seasons, and I mean, there might be a little bit of recency bias, but I'm tired of also we hear it quite a bit. Joe Burrow, LSU. He's not in LSU. He
That's
plays
true.
for the Bengals now.
Plays for the Bengals.
So I'm going to there's a couple of guys I'm
Can we
taking
argue
over
that
him.
that 1 year they went to the Super Bowl was the reason we hold him in such high regard?
I believe it is.
Because his first starting full year.
He's had one great season. I mean, he had the first rookie season, subpar. Second year leads him to the Super Bowl, and we're like, oh, he's up there. There were talks of, is it him or is it Mahomes?
Yeah.
And now it's between Allen and Mahomes. I mean, he's slowly been falling, but I mean, I'm taking Lamar over Burrow. I'm taking Mahomes and Allen over Burrow.
And CJ.
I'm taking CJ Stroud over Burrow. I'm taking a healthy Jordan Love over Joe Burrow. I'm taking Matthew Stafford over Joe Burrow.
I don't hate that one.
And I mean, gosh, I hate the Cowboys, but I'm taking Dak Prescott over Joe Burrow. I'm taking Dak over Joe Burrow.
Wow.
At least Dak can beat the Patriots.
You're going to take Dak over Joe Burrow.
I'm taking Jalen.
today.
Yes. I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow.
Man. All right. That was a sizzling take, not a hot take.
Joe Burrow,
that's crazy.
not a top 5 QB, and damn sure not a top 3 QB.
Oh, I like that take, though. All right, man. My hot take is that Christian McCaffrey isn't that great.
Oh, I'm with you.
Isn't that great?
I wish I could argue.
He's a legend.
But I'm with you.
But after we see this week is you can't dispute it. You can't anybody. We go back to Raheem Mostert in the 49ers offense. Elijah Mitchell. Trey Sermon looked decent at the end of last year. Now you got this guy I've never heard of.
I had no idea. I don't even know what college he went to.
I think he might have been undrafted. He was undrafted, if I'm not mistaken. Balls out against a really good defense. Look, Christian McCaffrey's a good back. He's a great back overall, but is he what we hold him in regards to? Is he that high of a back?
I think why people hold him at such a high standard is that receiving threat he is. I mean, he's got 1,000-yard receiving. It's
he's
that
a burner.
dual threat.
Don't get me wrong, he's a burner.
But between the tackles, they could put anyone back there.
They could put anywhere. I mean, I think almost all runs were between the tackles.
They could have got Frank Gore to suit up last night, and he could have put up 50, 60 yards. No, Frank Gore, the old guy.
Oh, that's crazy.
He could have put up 50, 60 yards.
That just shows that scheme, Kyle Shanahan's brilliance, the offensive line they have. Almost any. I mean, look at Debo gets back. Debo's great, but Debo gets back there and
he's doing the same thing.
You know, so it's like
they're literally showing you can put anyone back there. They're doing it.
Yeah, they're doing it.
I'm calling it. By week 3, they're gonna have Ayuk take snaps at running back at this point. They're gonna say, you know what, just get back there. They're gonna be like, Moody, you can kick field goals. I bet you can run 3 yards between the tackles.
You can get us a first down, take Moody. Yeah, I think he's a good back, man. I think he's great, but he's not in the regard we hold him to, especially all time wise. Anybody can get back there in that 49ers offense and run the ball. A rando like me and you, of course, not any professional player who has a little bit of speed behind him and won't cough the ball up.
Yeah,
can be productive in that offense. All right, man, we're out of time. This is Jacob.
This is Wyatt.
This has been 4th and Football, episode 2. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all have a good one.